following content is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Hello, and welcome everyone to Always Another Way podcast. My name is Marina Sprocki-Spriggs, and I'm your host. I have a master's in professional counseling, and I am the IAAHPERD Award-winning author of Stop Looking for a Husband, Find the Love of Your Life, and Nasty Divorce, A Kid's Eye View. I have been writing positive divorce advice for the HuffPost since 2012, and I'm trained in clinical hypnosis. And this podcast speaks to out-of-the-box thinkers, and it's for those who hear the call of hope and always another way. And if you're very rigid and set in your beliefs, this is probably not your cup of tea. However, you should note, tastes can and do change. And I am just so excited to talk to my guest today because he is truly a game changer. And then just to frame it up a little bit, do you know that today, about 1 in 4 children under the age of 18, which is almost 18 million people, are being raised without a father? And of all the single-parent families in the U.S., single mothers make up the majority. I grew up actually pretty fearful of men based on some experiences that I had. And actually, for a long time, I thought that men were mostly mean, which is a complete disservice to all the men who aren't. But I just saw a lot of mixed messages and a lot of aggression from men. And discussing toxic masculinity is not saying that men are bad or evil, and the term is not an assertion that men are naturally violent, because that's not true. And in fact, this conversation was started by men. You can check out Jackson Katz's TED Talk on the subject. But scholars have used the term toxic masculinity to refer to stereotypically masculine gender roles that restrict the kinds of emotions allowable for boys and men to express, including social expectations that men seek to be dominant, and limit their emotional range primarily to expressions of anger. So, that being said, it's obvious that the majority of people, especially in the United States, do not have a male role model at all, much less a positive male role model. And this has a lot of consequences that we can see in our society, which just makes me all that more excited, is that when you see somebody who is just truly a good guy, I mean, like in all ways, honesty, integrity, and somebody that is good when nobody's watching. That's the person I'm having on my show today. So, please welcome to the show, Dr. Ryan Lowery. Ryan Lowery has had a passion for helping others and was determined to find a way to make an impact on a global level. In 2002, Ryan's family faced an unexpected tragedy. His grandmother died at 61 years of age. And from then on, Ryan's mission became crystal clear: find alternative solutions utilizing the latest science and innovations in order to change people's lives for the better. Along with finishing his master's in exercise and nutrition science with over 100 papers, abstracts, and book chapters, Ryan was national champion baseball player at the University of Tampa. And while in school, Ryan won several awards, such as the Exercise Science Scholar of the Year Award, NSCA Award for Outstanding Presentation of the Year, the National AAHPERD Exercise Science Major of the Year. And following this, Ryan and his business partners, Dr. Jacob Wilson and Sam Beeler, founded the Applied Science and Performance Institute. The Applied Science and Performance Institute is a 21,000 square foot research and performance facility dedicated to bridging the gap between science and application. ASPI's mission is to change lives through science and innovation. Ryan's focus has always been nutrition and supplementation, and since 2010, he has been focused on ketogenic strategies to optimize health and performance. In 2017, Ryan and Jacob published The Ketogenic Bible, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and is being translated into several languages. This book was born out of a passion to help educate the masses on the research and practical application behind ketosis as it relates to therapeutic and performance-driven outcomes. Since its launch, tens of thousands of copies have been sold, and Ryan and Jacob have pledged to donate profits from this book to help further ketogenic education and research. Ryan has been a featured guest on numerous shows, podcasts, and interviews. He's spoken both nationally and internationally on topics relating to ketosis and the ketogenic lifestyle. And recently, Ryan received his PhD in Health and Human Performance. His dissertation focused on the effects of a well-formulated ketogenic diet and exogenous ketone supplementation on various markers of health and body composition in both healthy and diseased populations. So Ryan realized there was an enormous need to help sift through the noise and provide clarity. Ryan's approach is very simple. Develop the context of the situation, understand that everyone is individualized, be open to new ideas and research findings, and be able to translate that information into something that can be put into meaningful use in order to help someone effectively live a better life. So this is what we're going to talk about here now. Ryan's initiative, Make Positivity Louder, stands on his own MO of never putting others down, but rather extending a helping hand and being willing to help as often as possible. And I just love that so much. Dr. Ryan Lowery currently lives in Tampa, Florida. And Dr. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be on.
Oh my gosh, I am just so super excited. And truly, I mean, this is a guy, and I told him earlier, I don't stalk him, but he's on Instagram and he has a podcast and does a lot of things. But this is truly someone Who, in all forms, practice what he preaches. It's so amazing. So I've got to know, because I know I'm wrong, and I had an errant view as a child based on the examples that I saw. How did you just say, I've got to do this, make positivity louder? What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up, my mom worked at the school and my dad was in the military, so very militant lifestyle. So everything was very structured, which had its pros, but also had some cons that came along with that as well. But there was someone who was very close to me when I was young that was growing up, and every single day they'd sit down on the couch, they'd watch the news, they'd watch television, and their perspective of the world outside was always negative. And I watched how that transferred throughout their entire day and ultimately impacted their entire life. And that's when it kind of struck me, like watching this person get up, watch the news, and they see negative on the news. And then that affects their relationships in life. And then that affects when something bad happens or something comes, a hurdle or an obstacle comes up, it's always viewed from a negative standpoint. And so it was just this constant, never-ending negativity cycle. And I just saw how it wore them down and then wore the relationships and people around them down, so much so that no one ever wanted to be around them. And for me, I was like, there's so many amazing things that are going on in the world. Like I pick and choose what I want to allow in my life and make sure that everything's positive in that regard. And so I was like, if you can just switch someone's perspective and let them see the positive that's going out in the world, rather than seeing, oh, this person was shot and killed, or this happened on the news. What if you saw that someone was saved, or someone donated a large sum of money to help animal research and help save animals? Like, that's the stuff that you don't see on the news that is still out there. And I said, what if you can really change this perspective? And I said, what if we took positivity and made it louder than all of the negative noise, how that can completely change someone's life? And I just set out on a mission to really try and accomplish that, and always surround myself and bring out the most positive in the people around me.
Oh, yes, I love that. And that is just so true, is the perspective of what you see. And when you're just watching negative stuff and it bleeds on everybody else around you, and you're so right, it makes you not want to be around people like that.
For sure.
But then the people with the Make Positivity Louder, because truthfully, we are just seeing a microcosm on the news. It is fear sells. The good stuff doesn't, because you'll watch it and be like, oh, everything's great. Turn off the TV. Yeah. But truthfully, there is more good in the world. That is true. So what has being positive brought to you in your life personally? So you saw somebody like that and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And what have you noticed? Just how has your life changed from bringing positivity in?
Yeah, I think positivity's radically changed my life in more ways than one. You're talking physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like, every aspect of my life has improved because of my outlook on it. And one of the things that I've always tried to make an initiative of mine is I wake up every day and like the first thing I do is like, how can I serve others? Like, how can I ultimately impact other people in a positive manner? And my goal is that when I get home by the end of the day, every night, I can look myself in the mirror and say, I at least helped one person today. And if I can do that for every single day for the rest of my life, I'll make this world a better place than when I came into it. And that's ultimately my goal. And so I look at that and I see how that changes not only my life, but ultimately the bigger impact is how I can hopefully help impact someone else's life. For instance, if you're having a negative day and someone's always looking at it from a negative lens, you don't understand the impact that your words can have. I think there's a great book called The 4 Agreements, and one of them talks about like the power of your words and how that can impact people's lives. People don't understand, like if you're having a negative day and then you go and yell at someone or cuss at someone, and now how that affects their day, and then they take that home to their kids, you never really truly see that butterfly effect. So the goal is, if you're talking from a positive perspective, what happens if you hold the door open for someone who is having a terrible day? Now that changes their day. So when they go home, they have a better relationship with their wife, or they have a better relationship with their kids, all because of one small act can radically change it. And so those are the little steps towards positivity that I'm like, people, if they really look at it and take a step back from a macro level and look at it, one small action can have this butterfly effect that changes thousands of people's lives. And that's ultimately what my goal is.
Oh, you are so right. And just what a great perspective to look at from that macro perspective of just doing one thing for somebody else. And it truly does. Because I know when I've been in, sometimes not a great mood and somebody smiles or says something to me, it does. It makes a shift in you of just something else, and really to see that spread out, like you said, of one thing to another, and that wonderful ripple effect. And also to just know that you're just making ripples all day, every day that will go out is so cool. And so with that, people are saying, and even I'll say that too, like, oh, it's so positive, but, life sometimes will hit you. What do you do when conflict or negativity or just like, just a crappy day and you're not feeling it? What do you do?
Yeah, so I think it's all about perspective. And in the grand scheme of things, I think oftentimes we live in a culture that amplifies the negative and pushes down the positive, because it's so much easier to let the negative weigh on our shoulders over and over and over again. But things are going to happen. Like, God forbid something happens and you get into an accident, or like someone hits your bumper and now you have a dent in your car. You can look at that and it can not only affect your day, but now it affects your week and your month if you let it. But if you completely change your perspective and go, I'm grateful that I even have a car, because there are people in this world that don't. You kind of look at it from a sense of gratitude, and instead of being mad and angry, you're looking at everything with a gratitude perspective. And not that it's fun or great to get into an accident or have someone dent your car, but if you really start your day, it's one of the big things that I'm a proponent of, is every single day, as soon as I get up, I say hi to my pup, make sure he's doing good, feed him, and then I immediately go and do my gratitude journal. And when you start your day, and I list off at minimum 3 things every single morning that I'm grateful for, and usually some of them, it's not like, oh, I'm grateful because it's like, some of it could be, I'm grateful that I have running water, because there are people in this world that don't. And when you start your day thinking from that perspective, there's nothing that could happen to me throughout the day that I can't reflect back on and go, right, think about the gratitude that you talked about. Like, you have running water. If something were to happen, or something happens with the business, or something happens here, like, it'll be okay. You have it better than a lot of people else out there in the world. It's all about changing your perspective and understanding that that perspective is what ultimately dictates the outcome.
Yeah, love it. That is just so true. And you've got this just sweet little 3-legged dog. And yes, and how does your dog inspire you with things?
He's been the biggest blessing in my life. I think I adopted him about a month and a half ago, and the funny thing about it was I'm actually allergic to dogs and cats. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I saw his picture on the adoption center, and I was like, you know what, I got to get this guy. Like, there's something telling me, it's pulling me. Like, not only does he need me, I need him. Oh. And I immediately went and got him that same day, picked him up, and he's just taught me so much. And the fact that he does have only 3 legs, like, I love how fearless. Sometimes it scares me being a dog dad, but I love the concept of how fearless he is approaching life every single day. He's just literally like, he'll jump on things, he'll run faster than the other dogs at the park, he'll play around, but he's always there. It doesn't matter if I've had a rough day or if I've had something going on, he's always there smiling, excited to see me. And I'm just like, I'm so grateful to have him in my life that it's one of those things that just completely changes you.
I love that. I love seeing pictures of him and just how cute it is. And who else, I guess, do you have anybody else that just inspires you to just do things differently?
Yeah, one of the things I learned, I have so many mentors in my life, and every single one of them inspire me, and I approach it. And some people will say this is one of my greatest traits. Like when sometimes they like, oh, you got to meet Ryan. They say he's like Voltron. And so going back, like Voltron is like, he takes pieces from different things and kind of makes together this mega star. And so ultimately, like from each of my mentors, there are people that are really good socially. Cool, I might try and learn and pick up stuff from them. There are people that are really good mentally. I'll study underneath them. And so it's just, I think it ultimately comes down to there's so many people I've tried to surround myself with. Like when they say check your circle, I have so many people in my circle that I'm so grateful for that have allowed me to level up and kind of continue to grow mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and like grow as a human being and become the best version of myself. And that's been one of the greatest blessings, is having those people there as an anchor for me, that whenever I need guidance or whenever I need to look and see how they're doing things, I'm like, you know what, that's the right way to do it. That's how I want to do it, and model myself after that.
I love that. And that is truly key, because I know there was a neuroscience who did a study that it's who you surround yourself with and the environment that truly matters about getting not that people can't have a little negative moment, but then it's the quick perspective choice. Oh, okay, that sucks, but hey, here's something else, give it a second, move on, but also surrounding yourself with people that truly lift you higher.
Right. And that perspective switch, I think, is the biggest key for people to take away, because I did this video and a lot of people, I was like, you know what, I need to make this video. I recently had one of the guys that I work with, his mother just passed away unexpectedly. And it was very tragic for him, and he's been out since. But one of the things I realized is that people all over, especially on social media or obviously on the news, they'll complain, and you look at them and they're complaining about the smallest things today ever. They're like, oh, this person, they messed up my ice cream order. And they'll like go on this whole rant about how they're upset about it. And I'm like, if you like the perspective of the fact that you woke up today and someone else didn't should be enough for you to radically change your mind and stop caring about the negative little things that come through your entire day. And that should fire you up to want to be the best version of yourself and get you out of any rut that you're in, to kind of want to go out and pursue your passion, right? You woke up today, someone else didn't. That within itself is a huge blessing to understand. Like, you have an opportunity today to not only go out and make your life better, but to help other people along the way. Like, that's the greatest gift and complete perspective that I hope a lot of people understand and get, is you can completely and radically change your life and others with one small perspective shift.
Wow. Yeah, that is so true. And I'm just so sorry about your friend's mother. And that's just super rough. But
yeah.
But just to have that true perspective switch on, I could use this as an opportunity. I have an opportunity at life today of breathing and of making things just better for others, and then in tune. And I can just see it. And like I said, because I've known you for a while, but just the smile that you have and that positivity, just that just from coming of that inner core of knowing that I'm grateful and I'm blessed and I'm lucky to be here. It really does. I mean, it radiates like a diamond all around you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
But it's just true. I mean, it is the truth of just who you are. And I was so on Instagram, and I forget when it was, but there was maybe it was about the article about coconut oil or something. But somebody had come in like on a comment. Well, I'm this and I'm this and I'm this, and just the way you handled it was like, okay, cool, yeah, and you're not criticizing. You just are so empathetic and understanding, and the way you handle comments that will sometimes come at you that are just sort of negative and inflammatory is really world class.
Thank you very much. And the way I look at it, and I try and tell our team, because I say, listen, everyone's going to have different perspectives. You can't always think that someone's going to agree with your way. It's like, that's that's your perspective. It's completely fine. I'm not going to say, well, you're wrong, I'm right. That's no way to handle it. I'm saying, okay, completely understand your perspective. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
Yeah. So cool. I mean, take notes, peeps. All right. Well, let's now we'll segue back away in a little bit to the things ketogenic, and what has that brought to your life? And let's talk about a little bit about what you do, and so people can find you and stuff like that.
For sure. So keto, basically, it's blowing up now. It's been around for hundreds of years, but it's finally kind of making a resurgence. So for people that don't know what it is, a lot of people might know what the old Atkins was. That was big early on, but it's kind of like the new age Atkins, where it's more of a higher fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate lifestyle, where you're eating very little carbs, very little processed sugar, like all that thing's very low. And so for me, kind of going back to what you talked about in the beginning with my grandmother, that led me on a journey to figure out, like, okay, even though I'm an athlete, and when I was in college, I was one of those guys who could eat anything that I wanted, and I couldn't put on weight. Like people would look at me and be like, you're kidding me, right? And I would eat junk and all this stuff, and I couldn't put on weight because I was so active. My metabolism was crazy. But I mean, that's no longer the case. But I saw my family and friends struggle with the fact that they would just try one thing, or they would try and starve themselves to try and lose some weight, and it was just this vicious cycle, and they ended up just getting even bigger and bigger and having more and more health complications. So that led me on a journey of thinking, you know what, exercise is really important, and that's what my business partner, Dr. Jacob Wilson, his specialty is the exercise component of things. But I said, not everyone's going to exercise, but at some level, everyone eats, and everyone puts something in their body. So what if we focused on that? Ultimately, I can help affect more people. And so that's when we really started learning about the benefits of being in a state of ketosis, lowering that sugar, lowering those carbohydrates. And a lot of times people will hear about it from the body composition perspective, meaning losing fat. But now what I'm more interested in is the cognitive benefit. So all of the aspects as it relates to improving cognitive function. There's studies with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury, people with schizophrenia, people with all different types of neurological conditions, utilizing ketogenic therapies to help stabilize what's going on. And for me, that's one of the most intriguing aspects, and something that we're continuously studying in the lab.
Nice. And technically, you wrote the book on it, the Ketogenic Bible.
Yes.
Okay, and so why don't you, we're getting ready to kind of just wrap up here, but I just love all your hashtag, making positivity louder. You got to follow Ryan and help spread it around. I think, yes, making positivity louder. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Where can people find you?
Love it. Yeah. So as far as my personal page is at Ryan P. Lowery on Instagram. We do a lot if you're interested in keto at Ketogenic.com on Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's Dr. Ryan Lowery. And the website that we help put a lot of content on for people that are interested in keto is just ketogenic.com.
Nice. And you've got a podcast too where you talk about all things that.
Yes. It's called What the Fat.
What the Fat. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ryan. I love speaking with you. I love your message, and you are truly an example of somebody that practices what he preaches. You're a wonderful male role model, and I want to thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute honor.
All righty. Well, hey, and to everybody listening, there is always another way.